Hi guys, welcome to my kitchen. Today I wanted to show you my tips and tricks for making perfect pancakes, as well as my recipe that I use. So to get started with, I did want to show you what pan I will be using, and that is my cast iron griddle. So this guy actually sits over top of two burners. So before I put it back down on the burners, I am going to go ahead and turn these on so that it can start getting heated. I'm going to do a medium low to get started. You'll find with the pancakes that you are probably going to progressively bring this down even lower. So, okay. So that'll start getting warm while we get the recipe together. Now you don't have to use cast iron. You can use a normal skillet. That's perfectly fine. But the cast iron gives you a little bit more of a crust on those pancakes, which if you like the Cracker Barrel style pancakes, which I love, this will give you more of that texture. So the inside will be fluffy and soft while the outside has that little bit of crispiness on it. So that's really what I'm going for. So for our recipe, what we are going to be using is 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 tablespoon of sugar. So not very much sugar in here at all. Now I'm going to mix my dry ingredients first, just to get them all incorporated. And then we're adding 1 egg as well, and 2 cups of buttermilk. Now you could use milk if you don't have buttermilk, or you could make a mock buttermilk, which would be doing almost 2 cups. It's called a scant 2 cups. And then adding just a little bit of white vinegar up to the top and letting that sit for a couple of minutes. And you'll find that that'll give you a consistency and a flavor close to actual buttermilk. So that's a good little hack if you happen to want to make pancakes and you don't have buttermilk, but you still want the buttermilk pancakes. So that's something that you can do. Now, I'm being silly and using a fork instead of a whisk just because it gets me a little bit more directly in there. And I can make sure that any specific lumps I'm attacking, but you can of course just use a normal whisk. So that's going to be our batter. It's okay for it to be a little bit lumpy. You don't want it hugely lumpy, but you are going to have some lumps in there, and that's perfectly fine for this. Now I have my little ladle because that's how I like to scoop out my pancake dough. That's just me. It's actually not dough, it's batter. Okay, I'm getting confused. So now I can feel that that's warm. That's how I temp my skillets to make sure they're warm, is just put my hand over it, and if I can feel it's warm, I know it's ready. I am going to go ahead and bump this down a little bit on the heat. Because it's cast iron, it maintains its heat really well, so it's going to stay pretty hot for you even if you bump down that heat. Now I'm going to put my little pats of butter on here. Now, one of my tricks with this is to use salted butter. So you know from watching my videos that a lot of times I will purposely use unsalted butter. In this application, the salted butter just gives you such a nice, it just really brings it up. It just really elevates the pancake flavor. And I didn't mean to sound like a snob there, but it really, really just does something amazing with it. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my pancake on there. And one on that side and one on this side. Now you're going to hang out with me here while that is cooking. So a couple things are going to happen after you've put your pancake dough down. So for one thing, the pancake batter is going to rise up a little bit. It's going to get fluffier. You don't want to check it obsessively. You just want to watch for the signs that it's about ready. Another thing that's going to happen, you can see on this one, it's already started to fluff up from where it was. Another thing that's going to happen is you're going to see bubbles. So I don't actually mean these bubbles here, these big bubbles, but you'll start to see little bubbles around the edges as it's getting to be time to flip those. So that's what I watch for. So I just keep a close eye on it to watch for that point. You will start to see the batter basically transform, and it's not going to necessarily look dry or anything like that, but you can look at this one again, it's risen up a little bit. It's got more bubbles just all over the surface, and we're starting to get some action around the sides. It's not quite there yet, but it will be soon. Now, when you go to flip it, of course, that is the time where it gets a little bit difficult. Just try to make sure that you have a big enough spatula to get completely under it. And one of the biggest things with flipping it, of course, is not flipping it too soon, because if you do flip it too soon, it hasn't created enough of a base underneath of it, and so it's just going to fall apart while you try to flip it. Regardless of how long you've been making pancakes, you're probably going to mess one up at some point. So it's okay, because pancakes are great. Now look at that now. See how much more bubbles there are? And actually you can see the batter around the edges. It is starting to look just a little bit more different, a little bit drier. So what I'm going to do now, it really liked my spatula there. It's just flip like that. Now this one is getting ready to flip as well. So I usually do 1 pat of butter per pancake. And so once I take these off of here, this one likes my spatula as well. That one's a little bit light underneath, but it was probably because I turned the temperature down just a little bit more than I should have. So once I take these off of here, if the pan's looking good, it's not looking like the butter's gotten too hot or burnt, then I'll just go ahead and put my next butter pad on there, let that melt, do another batch of them. The one thing is, if it does start to look like your butter's kind of burning and getting brown, you don't want to cook it in burnt butter, because that won't give you a good flavor. So if that happens, what you do is you just grab a wad of paper towels, like about 3 paper towels, and just kind of really quickly, actually, to be smart, use tongs. Don't do what I do and use my hands. Use tongs and just kind of rub the paper towel over it, and then put your fresh butter on there so that it doesn't end up giving you a burnt flavor. All right, beautiful. See all that color there? This one's gonna sit for another minute, but that one still looks fine, so I'm gonna go ahead and do another batch over there. You will start to see, as the pan maintains its heat and just the longer that it's on the heat, you'll start to see that butter sizzle really, really quickly. And that's why you kind of want to keep an eye on the temperature, just because it does tend to stay very hot and get a little too hot sometimes if you're not really careful about keeping an eye on it. Now my pancakes that are done, if you are making a big batch of pancakes and you need to hold them for a little while, or you're making eggs and bacon with it and everything's not quite done yet, what you can do is just put these in the oven at a very low temperature. Like if your oven has a warm sensor, or if it's like 200 degrees, you can put it in there. You can also just put it in the microwave with a paper towel over top of it and just like give it like a 30-second heat, like when you're done with the pancake stack. So hopefully you guys enjoy these pancakes. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. One final tip is to elevate your pancake experience a little bit more. Also, slather them with salted butter when you're making your pancake stack on your plate, and then make sure that you're warming up your maple syrup. You can do that in just a little saucepan on the stove. If it's in a glass container, you can probably just take off the top of the glass container, the metal part or the plastic part, and pop it in the microwave for about a minute. But that will really make it just a little bit more special. So I hope you guys enjoy and have a wonderful day.